One crisp October morning in Central Park, as vibrant leaves cascaded like golden snow under a clear blue sky, Alex perched on a splintered bench near the Bethesda fountain. The park thrummed with life. Joggers in bright lycra pounded paths with earbuds blaring. Families sprawled on picnic blankets, tossing frisbees with joyous laughter. And tourists clustered around landmarks, snapping selfies against the autumn backdrop, their cameras clicking incessantly. Alex nibbled a bruised apple salvaged from a vendor's trash, its tart juice a rare treat that amplified his stomach's persistent growl. Watching a young girl chase a colorful balloon, her father's affectionate laughter echoing, Alex felt a deep pang for his lost childhood. A time of simple joys, now buried in tragedy's fog. His gaze drifted to a pile of crimson and amber leaves beneath the bench, where a black object peeked out. Brushing them aside with dirt-streaked fingers, he uncovered a sleek leather wallet, soft and embossed with E.H. in gold. His pulse quickened. Inside were a driver's license, glossy credit cards, and a thick stack of $100 bills. Over $1,000, a fortune beyond his dreams. Temptation whispered, a steaming diner meal, sturdy shoes, a night and a shelter. He could slip into the city's anonymity, unnoticed, but a faded photo stopped him. A gentle elderly man with kind eyes, and a woman in a floral dress, smiling under cherry blossoms. On the back, in elegant script, "To my dear Eleanor, forever in my heart." The license named Edward Harrington, 78, of the Upper East Side. His mother's words rose above hunger. "Do what's right." Sighing, Alex pocketed the wallet, not to keep, but to return. The Upper East Side was a different universe. Slipping fare-free onto a crowded subway, Alex emerged among gleaming townhouses and purring luxury cars. Edward's building, a glass and marble monolith, loomed grandly. A doorman in a red coat eyed him like a stray. "Beat it, kid. This ain't your place," he growled. "Please," Alex pleaded, holding up the wallet. "This is Mr. Harrington's. I just want to return it." Skeptically, the doorman buzzed the intercom, then nodded. "Penthouse floor. Don't touch anything." The elevator's mirrored walls reflected Alex's ragged form infinitely. Soft violin music clashed with his frayed nerves. The doors opened to opulence. Marble floors, a crystal chandelier, windows framing the skyline. An elderly man with silver hair and warm eyes waited, dressed simply in a sweater and slacks. "You found my wallet," he said kindly. "I'm Edward Harrington." Alex handed it over. "I didn't take anything, sir, I swear." Edward checked it. "Everything's here. Cash, cards, Eleanor's photo." He looked at Alex with admiration. "Most wouldn't bother. Your name?" "Alex Carter, sir." "Come in, Alex. Let's have tea." Alex hesitated, street instincts urging caution. But Edward's sincerity drew him in. He followed into a living room like a museum. Art-lined walls, plush velvet furniture, a breathtaking city view. The air smelled of fresh flowers and polished wood, a stark contrast to alley stench. Edward poured tea from a silver pot into porcelain cups and offered buttery cookies. Alex, ravenous, tried to eat slowly, but hunger won, crumbs scattering. Edward shared his story. A widower, his wife Eleanor lost to cancer 5 years ago. The wallet's photo from their last spring in Japan was his treasure. "I built my fortune in tech," Edward said, sipping tea. "Harrington Industries, software, AI, changing lives. I started with nothing like you. Money buys things, but integrity buys peace." Alex listened, awestruck. Edward's sadness mirrored his own, forging a bond of shared loss. As he left, Edward pressed a $100 bill and a card into his hand. "For your honesty. Call if you need me." Alex bought a hot dog and socks, but Edward's kindness lingered like a warm ember. Unbeknownst to him, Edward was a reclusive billionaire worth over $50 billion, a tech titan who shunned the spotlight after Eleanor's death. Winter descended like a predator, blanketing the city in snow and ice. Alex's life grew brutal, shivering in alleys, breath visible, scavenging frozen dumpsters, fingers numb, dodging cops rousting him from doorways. The $100 vanished on essentials. One blizzard night, frostbite biting his fingers, hunger clawing, he huddled in a soggy cardboard box under a Brooklyn bridge. Despair enveloped him. Clutching Edward's frayed card, he stumbled to a frosted payphone. "Mr. Harrington, it's Alex," he stammered, teeth chattering. "Where are you, son?" Edward's voice was urgent. "Stay there." An SUV pierced the storm, its driver bundling Alex to the penthouse. By a roaring fireplace, wrapped in blankets with hot cocoa, Alex poured out his story. The accident, foster home's indifference, the street's grind. Edward listened, his face etched with empathy. "You're like me," he said softly. "Orphaned young, scraping by in Chicago's slums. But your heart doesn't bend." Edward offered a guest room, for now. Days became weeks, then months. He hired tutors to bridge Alex's educational gaps, enrolled him in a private academy, and opened his home. For the first time, Alex had a bed, meals, and someone who cared. Alex transformed. Cleaned up, in crisp clothes, he looked like any teen, save for haunted eyes. He excelled in school, especially math and coding. Edward mentored him over chess, teaching coding basics. Tech solves problems, Alex. Improves lives. But Edward's nephew, Victor Harrington, a slick lawyer in his 40s, and his wife Lydia, a venomous socialite, saw Alex as a threat. They coveted Edward's fortune, his company, global properties, vast wealth. Victor had schmoozed shareholders, eyeing inheritance. Alex's presence upended their plans. At a glittering charity gala, Victor cornered Edward in an alcove, his voice a sharp hiss. "This kid's a con artist, Uncle. He's after your money." Edward's eyes hardened. "Your greed blinds you, Victor. Alex's integrity surpasses yours." Lydia, eavesdropping, added, "Think of the family legacy. The legacy is mine to shape." Edward retorted, striding away. Victor's resentment festered. He hired investigators to dig into Alex's past, finding only foster records and loitering citations. Undeterred, he spread rumors. The boy's a thief, worming into Edward's will. Victor's rumors fueled tabloid headlines. "Billionaire duped by street rat." Paparazzi hounded Alex at school, cameras flashing as he ducked into classrooms. Classmates whispered, "Charity case," their taunts reviving fears of rejection. The spotlight, unlike street anonymity, crushed him. One stormy night, after a vicious article with fabricated quotes, Alex packed a backpack and confronted Edward in his study. "I'm leaving. I'm causing trouble you don't need." Edward set down his book, his face stern yet kind. "Trouble finds the worthy, Alex. You returned my wallet when you could have run. Stay. Prove them wrong." Inspired, Alex channeled his pain into a coding project, an app, Wallet of Hope, linking homeless youth to shelters, jobs, and mental health resources. Edward provided servers and developers. Beta tests showed promise. Dozens of kids found beds and hope. Victor's schemes grew sinister, fueled by desperation to secure his presumed inheritance. He forged documents, alleging Alex had a juvenile criminal record, petty thefts that never occurred, complete with falsified court stamps. Edward's legal team, sharp and methodical, unraveled the lies with meticulous verification, exposing the forgeries as amateurish ploys that crumbled under scrutiny. Undeterred, Victor's desperation deepened. He bribed Tommy, a classmate of Alex's, a shy boy easily swayed by promises of cash and status, to plant stolen test answers in Alex's locker, framing him for academic dishonesty. The scheme nearly succeeded. School officials launched a formal investigation, casting a shadow over Alex's hard-earned reputation. Whispers of expulsion swirled, and Alex felt the weight of his past insecurities resurface, the fear of being cast out again, unworthy of the life Edward had given him. But Tommy, tormented by sleepless nights and a gnawing conscience, broke under the pressure. In a tearful confession to the principal, he revealed Victor's plot, producing recorded messages as evidence, hushed conversations where Victor's voice dripped with manipulation. The final reckoning unfolded in the sleek, high-rise boardroom of Harrington Industries, where floor-to-ceiling windows framed a city skyline shrouded in gray clouds, mirroring the tension within. Polished mahogany tables gleamed under harsh fluorescent lights, and the air buzzed with the nervous energy of shareholders, their faces a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Victor, sensing his last chance slipping away, stood with calculated confidence, his tailored suit impeccable, his voice smooth as he proposed a motion to oust Edward as chairman. "My uncle's judgment is compromised," he declared, gesturing dramatically. "His irrational trust in this street urchin, a boy with no pedigree, no credibility, endangers our company's future. We cannot allow sentimentality to jeopardize our legacy." The room stirred, shareholders exchanging uneasy glances. The tabloid frenzy, fueled by Victor's leaks, had sown doubt, and his charisma held sway. Edward sat calmly at the head of the table, his expression unreadable, while Alex, invited as a surprise witness, stood in the wings, his heart pounding like a drum. His school uniform felt stiff, a reminder of how far he'd come, yet how fragile his place here remained. Summoned to speak, Alex stepped to the podium, his knees trembling, but his voice steadying with each word. "I was homeless, yes, scraping by with nothing but my wits and a refusal to give up. I know what it's like to have nothing, no home, no family, no hope. But Mr. Harrington saw beyond that. He gave me a chance, not for money or fame, but because he believes in doing good. That's the soul of this company, using innovation to lift people up, not just to chase profits. If you remove him, you're not just losing a leader, you're extinguishing the heart that makes Harrington Industries extraordinary." His words hung in the air, raw and unpolished, but piercingly sincere. A few shareholders nodded, their expressions softening. Edward rose, his presence commanding despite his age, and opened a leather dossier. With measured precision, he presented damning evidence of Victor's schemes. The forged documents now proven false by court records, bank statements tracing bribe payments to Tommy, and intercepted phone calls where Victor's voice betrayed his malice. "This is not leadership," Edward said, his voice steady but laced with disappointment. "This is betrayal of trust, of family, of everything this company stands for." The board deliberated briefly, the room thick with tension. When the vote came, it was decisive. Edward remained chairman, and Victor's executive privileges and shares were revoked on the spot. Victor's face drained of color, his polished facade cracking as he realized the depth of his defeat. Lydia, seated in the back, clutched her purse, her eyes darting nervously. Without a word, they slipped out, retreating to their Hamptons estate, their dreams of inheritance shattered like glass against the tide of truth. With Victor's shadow lifted, the bond between Alex and Edward deepened into an unbreakable familial tie, rooted in mutual respect and shared triumphs over adversity. Alex threw himself into his studies, graduating high school with top honors, his name etched on the Academy's honor roll. His academic brilliance, particularly in mathematics and computer science, earned him a full scholarship to MIT, underwritten by Edward's philanthropic foundation dedicated to uplifting underprivileged youth. Wallet of Hope evolved from a fledgling app into a global nonprofit, its sleek interface now accessible in multiple languages, connecting thousands of homeless youth to shelters, job training, and mental health support across continents. Stories poured in, a teen in London finding a safe bed, a girl in Mumbai securing her first job, each a testament to Alex's vision and Edward's backing. Edward, now in his mid-80s, his silver hair thinner and his steps slower, watched Alex's ascent with a pride that warmed his weary heart. He saw in Alex not just a protege, but a son,
someone who embodied the values he and Eleanor had cherished. Alex took on leadership roles at Harrington Industries, spearheading initiatives that married cutting-edge AI with social good, like algorithms to optimize food distribution for shelters, or predictive models to identify at-risk youth before they fell through the cracks. Yet beneath his achievements, Alex's scars from the streets lingered. Nightmares jolted him awake, vivid memories of freezing nights, the tauntings of foster kids, the fear of being nothing. Trust came hard, even in this new life, as part of him braced for it to vanish. Edward, ever perceptive, noticed the shadows in Alex's eyes.
He arranged weekly therapy sessions with a compassionate counselor who helped Alex unpack his traumas, teaching him to reconcile the frightened boy he'd been with the capable young man he was becoming. One serene evening, as they stood on the penthouse balcony overlooking the city's twinkling lights, a cool breeze carrying the scent of autumn, Edward placed a hand on Alex's shoulder. "You're not that boy shivering in alleys anymore," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "But that boy's resilience, his refusal to break, is what carried you here. Embrace both parts. They make you whole." When Edward's health began to fade, his strength ebbing like a tide, he faced it with quiet dignity. At 87, he passed away peacefully in his penthouse, surrounded by Alex and a small circle of loyal friends who had stood by him through decades. The room was softly lit, the air heavy with the scent of lilies, Eleanor's favorite, arranged in vases around the bed. Alex held Edward's hand, tears streaming silently as the old man's breathing slowed. Edward's final words were a whisper. "You gave me purpose, Alex. Carry it forward." In his will, revealed days later, Edward left Alex a significant portion of his fortune, accompanied by a letter sealed with his personal wax stamp. "My dear Alex, you returned more than a wallet that day. You restored joy to my waning years. Let your integrity inspire others as it inspired me." Alex, true to his core, donated most of the inheritance to Wallet of Hope, funding new outreach centers and tech upgrades to reach more lives. He kept only enough for a modest apartment and basic needs, rejecting the trappings of wealth that never suited him. The original wallet, its leather worn but intact, remained his most cherished possession, its faded photo of Edward and Eleanor a talisman of the day honesty changed his life. He kept it on a shelf in his study, a quiet reminder of the path he had walked and the man who believed in him. Decades later, Alex Harrington, now in his late 30s, a renowned philanthropist and tech innovator, returned to that fateful Central Park bench on a crisp autumn afternoon. The park was alive with the same vibrant energy he remembered. Children laughing, couples strolling, leaves pirouetting in the wind, painting the ground in reds and golds. He sat, his tailored coat a far cry from the tattered hoodie of his youth, yet his blue eyes still had that spark of hope, tempered now with wisdom and purpose. His thoughts drifted to Edward, to the wallet, to the journey from destitution to destiny. Wallet of Hope had transformed countless lives, its logo a beacon for the lost, and Alex's work at Harrington Industries continued to push boundaries, blending profit with profound social impact. As he adjusted his scarf against the autumn chill, a small figure approached from the winding path, a girl no older than 10, her clothes tattered and patched, her face smudged with dirt. Her wide eyes, wary yet curious, reminded Alex of himself at that age. In her small hand, she clutched a sleek smartphone, his, dropped unknowingly moments earlier while he'd been lost in thought. "Sir, I found this on the ground," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with the caution of someone who'd learned to expect rejection. Alex's face lit up with a warm, knowing smile, a flood of memories washing over him. The park bench, the wallet, Edward's kind eyes. He took the phone gently, his fingers brushing hers, and saw the hunger in her posture, the weight of a life too heavy for such a young soul. "Thank you so much, young lady," he said, his voice soft but deliberate, echoing Edward's tone from years ago. "That was incredibly kind of you. What's your name?" "Lily," she murmured, glancing down at her scuffed shoes, her shoulders hunched as if bracing for dismissal. "Well, Lily," Alex said, crouching slightly to meet her gaze, his eyes radiating the same compassion Edward had once shown him. "Come with me.
Let's get you some warm food, a hot chocolate maybe, some soup, and we'll talk about how I can help you. No one should be alone out here." Lily hesitated, her eyes searching his for a trap, but something in his sincerity eased her guard. She nodded, a small spark of hope flickering in her expression. As they walked toward a nearby cafe, the autumn leaves swirling around them, Alex felt a profound sense of continuity. The cycle of kindness, sparked by a lost wallet and a boy who chose to do what was right, lived on, rippling outward to touch another life, just as Edward's had touched his.